Welcome back to the GTN Show. Now, you lucky lot get all three of us in the show today, which is a good thing because we have got a lot to cover. Now, with government restrictions lightening somewhat around the world in many places, we are seeing an insurgence of open water swimmers. So, to start the show off today, Heather is going to be running us through some guidance and some tips when it comes to open water swimming. I'm going to be picking up on that topic around the postponement of the Ironman World Championships. I've got a little bit more detail on that, as well as some opinions from the pros themselves. Fraser is going to be picking up on the virtual race news, which we've all got so accustomed to and used to hearing about, as well as the news of a retirement of a legend of the sport.
Hey guys, as Mark mentioned, yes, today I am talking about swimming, if we can even remember what that is. It has been weeks, even months for some of us since we last went for a swim, but we are beginning to see an ease of the lockdown now, and with that, thoughts are turning towards potentially going swimming again. Obviously, most public pools are remaining closed for the foreseeable future, so we are having to look towards open water. I mean, here in the UK, we're incredibly lucky that we are now allowed to drive to go and do exercise, and that includes swimming, so we could go to a river, a lake, or the ocean if we live near it. And we've seen quite a few pros making the most of this opportunity and sourcing out any local areas to them to go swimming. But it does come with some risks, obviously, because there are very few open water centres that are going to be open, and therefore it's going to rely on wild swimming, so you're not going to have any lifeguards or any segregated areas that are specific to swimming. Obviously, the pros are very experienced swimmers and many of them have been able to swim at home during lockdown. But for the rest of us, we haven't been swimming for quite a long time. There is a little bit of consideration needed before just leaping in your car and driving to the seaside. And British Triathlon, Swim England and the Royal Lifesaving Society have recognised this increased risk in this current situation. And they've set out a few guidelines which are obviously very suitable to everyone wherever you are in the world. And some of them I want to share with you because it is quite a serious topic. The first one they come up with, which I think is obvious and hopefully we'd all do, is to never swim alone. I know you've got to keep the distance at the moment, so things are a little bit different, but you don't head out to an unknown area and go for a swim on your own. It's just not wise when it comes to wild swimming. Again, you've got to keep the social distance. Just because you're swimming, I'm afraid, guys, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer till we can start drafting again. And it obviously isn't just in the water, the 2-metre rule, but also when you're getting changed and travelling to wherever you're going to swim. So it's worth considering that. They've also said let someone else know who you live with, where you're going, what time you're expected to be back, all the kind of usual safety things with going and doing any activity really that's outdoors. And this one, I think, is very true, but quite a difficult one to do. It's being honest with yourself and actually kind of saying, how healthy, fit am I at the moment? How confident am I in open water? And only you really know that, and only you know that you're safe to go. And obviously there's still an element of risk with open water, but you want to make sure that's reduced so we're not putting any more pressure on the medical services wherever you live. And also they just say, be aware, no lifeguards operating. And in the UK, it's volunteers who are working the Coast Guard, but wherever you've got any emergency services, they're obviously going to be under strain and don't want unnecessary addition to that. Beyond the guidelines, they do reiterate the rules of open water swimming, and we've covered these before and we're going to be bringing you some more open water swim videos soon, but just little things like making sure, if obviously it says no swimming or it's a private area, that you don't swim there, and doing a little bit of research beforehand to find out areas that maybe are safe for swimming. And then there's a bit of a checklist here really of things to do pre-swim, during your swim and afterwards, how to check if your wetsuit's all right, your swim route and where you're actually going to go once you get there. So looking at the weather forecast, the water, the temperature of the water, especially if you're in the UK or somewhere like this where the water at the moment is still very cold, even if it's sunny and warm outside. Also talk about water quality. So you don't want to swim somewhere that's got stagnant water or maybe pipes coming into that. The air quality around it as well, the air temperature, and of course any currents that there might be in the area. If you're swimming in a river, you're likely to expect a current. The sea, the current's going to vary. So if you can get some local knowledge beforehand, and these are just a few of the points that they actually shared on this document. We're going to put the document in the description below and a link to that. And I'd suggest wherever you live, checking that out because there's some really useful things. Even if you are a really experienced open water swimmer, just go and check it out before you go, and hopefully it will just remind you of a few of those things that could have got a little rusty after so long out of the water. And on the topic of open water swimming, I am very passionate about it, as you can probably tell. I'm very excited to go open water swimming, but I want to know what you guys are feeling. Are you just going to wait until the pools open and you've had this long off anyway, it doesn't really matter, a few more weeks or months, whatever it might be, or are you going to, at the first opportunity, go and jump in the open water in the next week or two? That is this week's poll question. You can enter it by clicking up here. It's a simple yes or no to are you planning on going open water swimming in the next week or two? And that leads me on to the results from last week's poll. And we asked, once restrictions are lifted and racing can resume, what will you choose? E-racing in safety in the comfort of your own home, or racing at physical events again? And it was an absolute landslide to getting out and racing. 97% of you are desperate to get out the door and go and race in real life, with 3% of you happy to stay at home.
Now for the Tri news, and a big bit to start off with here, the official postponed 2020 Ironman World Championship date. First off, it's not even in 2020, it is in 2021 as we speculated before, and it is going to be on February the 6th. Now with that, obviously they're going to extend out the qualification period for athletes to make sure that they are qualified for that February date. It will also mean that we have 2 Ironman World Championships in 2021. One in February, that postponed date, and then one in October, as we ordinarily would. Interestingly, and as I have mentioned before, this is not the first time we've had this. When they originally moved the Ironman World Championships from Honolulu to the Big Island, to Kailua Kona, they had one in February and then another in October. With regards to the 70.3 World Championships, which are due to take place in New Zealand in November, a month after the Ironman World Championships, we're still waiting to hear on. Ironman said they're working with New Zealand Tourist Board and various other parties to get a date to us ASAP, but we have already speculated maybe it'll take place in March, a month after the Ironman World Championships. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. But obviously this has thrown a lot up in the air. I know a number of age group athletes that already moved their slot to the October date, knowing that they're going to struggle to train through the winter months here in the Northern Hemisphere. How is this going to impact the pros? I know the pros will have analysed this to death. Will it favour those Southern Hemisphere athletes? Will some have just written this off and decide to focus on October? Anyway, we're dying to hear from them, and actually we've reached out to a bunch, so here's what they've got to say.
So my thoughts on this are awesome because, well, there was a whole train of thoughts. It was a bit like the stages of grieving, because obviously I felt a loss that this year was not completely written off, because we still got Challenge Daytona in December, but that we'd lost Kona 2020. Of course, I hadn't even qualified, so that was a whole nother stage. But I think it's a good thing for us as professional racing to be able to be more focused in training, to know exactly what we're aiming for. There are fewer races to qualify, I believe, so it'll be interesting to see how Ironman allocates slots and also prize money, because that will, for us living off this, it's an important factor when determining what races to qualify leading into it. I think a key in this whole situation is going to be staying injury-free and healthy, because as it is currently, that's 4 world champs, and that's a huge amount of racing for us. I think personally I'm not going to be able to do all 4. I'm going to have to target 2, just because I like quality, not quantity. That's personal, of course. I think also the fact that there are going to be 2 Konas within 1 year, that's 2 Konas, but that's another 2 Ironman qualifying races. So that means some people could end up racing 4 Ironman within a 12-month period without the rest of the world champions. So that taken into consideration, it's going to be the few and far between who target all 4. But I mean, it would be pretty amazing if someone manages to win 2 Ironman World Champions in 1 year. So I'm ready to race next week, but we're going to have to wait for a few more months. So just enjoying the downtime.
I think the Kona decision postponement didn't come as a surprise to me. I still had to qualify, obviously, and I'd spent just a couple of months, January, February this year, working towards that goal. So I'd picked my qualifying race, which was going to be Ironman Ireland in June, and then go from there with Kona. So I think having the sort of slight skew now later in the year is definitely giving you, it gives you something to focus on. But I'm not setting my heart on it yet. I think setting your heart on anything in the current climate is, for me, I'm going to have hope, but I'm not going to completely invest in one specific date and one specific race yet. I think it's all about developing sort of yourself and being like the best athlete you can be at the moment, rather than focusing on a date. So I'm already planning my race schedule as the postponements and the changes come through, definitely, and looking to hopefully do some Ironman racing in the British autumn, so sort of September, October time, to qualify for Kona, be that in February or in October in 2021. It's definitely going to happen for me.
Hey everyone, hope you're good. So today, just my thoughts on, well, Kona being in February 2021 now. I think, firstly, it's great that it's been called so early, and yeah, let's be honest, the idea of the race being in October was just, it's not going to be possible. So it's great that we know now. It saves a lot of worry. And yeah, obviously, yeah, I'll be going for the race in February. It changes completely my preparation, because obviously I won't have the nice sort of Spanish summer to acclimatise to the heat. So yeah, I will need to adapt, but we all need to adapt in this situation. I think ultimately Hawaii is the pinnacle of our sport, and more than that, it's a celebration of our sport, and it's great that we have the opportunity to do it twice next year. I think it'd have been a great shame if we'd have went a full 24 months without having that celebration for our sport and having that thing for everyone to look forward to. So yeah, I think obviously the key is, yeah, we're in a situation where we all need to adapt, but I know come February it's going to be a wonderful exhibition.
Well, following on with the postponement of events and new event dates, but this time over to the ITU short distance racing. Well, obviously WTS Hamburg and the WTS Mixed Relay World Championships had to be postponed, but a new official date has come out for them, the 4th to the 5th of September, at least for now, that is the date. Interestingly though, neither events will be used in the qualification schedule or be used towards the WTS rankings, which I'm sure a number of athletes will be relieved at, given that a lot, I know, have already come off the gas a bit over the last few months, particularly so with them not being able to swim quite as easily. We're now moving on to something lovely actually from the USA Triathlon Foundation, and this is with regards to their COVID-19 relief fund. Now that relief fund has raised over $100,000 to date, which is absolutely staggering. The first $20,000 of which was matched dollar to dollar by USA Triathlon, $10,000 of which came from the CEO himself, and the remainder came from board directors and whatnot. Well, they are accepting applicants to this relief fund through until the end of May. This is open to event companies, event directors, clubs, certified coaches with USA Triathlon, anyone that's involved in triathlon in the USA and has been impacted through this crisis, which is a fantastic move, hopefully to keep triathlon thriving in the USA. We're now moving on to something a bit techy and a bit geeky. You know I love my tech here on the channel, but we have featured this product on the channel before. It is the Form swimming goggles with their augmented reality display within the lens of the goggle, allowing you to see things like your swim pace, your stroke rate, your heart rate, your distance, whilst actually swimming. Now, previously, this was limited to just use in the pool, but they have now opened this out to the open water. Yep, so you can now link those goggles up to your GPS sports watch or your smartwatch with a update to the current goggles, and that will now allow you to see your stroke rate, your speed, your distance, whilst actually swimming along in the open water, which is an absolute game changer in my opinion. I would certainly have benefited from this a number of times in the past rather than having to stop and check my watch, and I guess being able to do some really quality specific sessions in the open water as you would do in the pool. Now currently this is only available in linking up to Garmin's GPS watches and the Apple smartwatch, but I have reached out to them and they said that they are hoping to roll this out to other brands in the near future.
Hello there. Now, before I get going with this week's race news, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you and acknowledge all of the incredibly kind responses and messages after me reappearing back on the channel last week for the first time in a little while, and explain to you that the reason for that absence was due to a period of poorer mental health. Now, I fully appreciate that this is something that is very difficult for an awful lot of people to talk openly about. So hopefully by me doing so, that's even able to help just a few other people. And if that's the case, then it is a step that I'm really quite proud of being able to take. And this is even more perhaps relevant this week because here in the UK, it is National Mental Health Awareness Week. So please, if you are struggling, do try and go and seek some help. Now I will move right on to the race news, and this week it was round 7, VR7 of the Ironman Pro Challenge. And the format was a little bit different this week. We had 2 male athletes and 2 female athletes racing on each of the Saturday and Sundays. They were racing over a sprint distance course, 20 kilometers, and that was the Super Seal sprint distance race in San Diego using that familiar Ruby platform. They were doing 2 laps on each day, and the 4 athletes on Saturday were Laura Phillip, Nikki Bartlett, Mauricio Mendes and Maurice Clavel. Now, the women on each day had a 3-minute head start on lap 1 and then the men headed off. They had a short break after completing lap 1 and then the athletes repeated this for lap 2 but in the order of their finish times from lap 1 in a handicap fashion as such. So that gave us results for day 1 and then the whole process was repeated on Sunday, and that set of 4 athletes was Mel McQuaid, Sarah Piampiano, we had Brent McMahon and Ben Canute. Now, after all those results were finished, we had finished results for the females and the males, and I will read them now. Nikki Bartlett was the winner with a scintillating time of 52.39 over her 2 laps. Sarah Piampiano in second, 57.03. Mel McQuaid in third, 57.36, with Laura Phillip rounding out in 57.37. So quite close racing after that incredible time from Nikki. On to the men's results, and we had Ben Canute taking the win with 51.34 being his time, Maurice Clavel in second with 52.36, Brent McMahon in third, 53.04, so quite close there, and Mauricio Mendes rounding out the men's results in 56.36. Now, moving on to the next set of virtual race results from this past week, and that was the 5th round of the Zwift Z Pro Tri-Race Series. Now, this was a 2-lap affair over the Yorkshire course, which is quite lumpy. It's got quite a few elevation changes for the athletes to have to negotiate and tackle. So maybe that was going to break up the racing a little bit. But nonetheless, we still saw some familiar names at the top of the results sheet. In the women's race, we had Sophie Caldwell winning from Lizzie Duncombe in second, Melanie Maurer in third, and then Lucy Charles Barkley fourth, just pipping Emma Pallett in fifth. On to the men's racing, and we still had the familiar sight of Lionel Sanders taking out that win. He was on top spot in front of Aaron Royal. Third was Anthony Costas, and then we had Reece Barkley just pipping out fellow Brit and home favourite, you might say, Alistair Brownlee in fifth. So that is our race news taken care of. So now it's time for me to take a look at some of the pictures and pain cave snaps that you have sent in to us. We love seeing those, so please remember, if you want to send in your setup at home, please drop them in, and you can do that using the uploader, which is on screen now. So first up that we've got here is a cracking little setup from Benedict Jose, and this is his Trek 2019 aerobike. Now, I'm not quite sure which road frame it is. He hasn't said. I've tried to look, I can't quite tell, so maybe get back in touch and let us know the name of the frame, Benedict. This is in Angeles City, Pampanga in the Philippines, and he says, here is my pain cave that is themed Zootopia because of the wall drawings, paintings done by my father and sister. Well, I think your Zootopia looks fantastic. Really love the monkey and the elephant in particular, so that's a really cool looking place to be getting your indoor training done. Next up, we've got a really beautiful picture here from Victor, and this is his Specialized Venge Pro in Bremgarten in Switzerland, and oh my word, that looks like a stunning spot to stop mid-bike ride. And he says, enjoying some very sunny days here in Switzerland, perfect occasion to get some miles in and work on those tan lines. Well, I'm not going to disagree with you there, Victor. That looks absolutely beautiful. Hope you enjoyed it. Now, the next set we've got here is from Matthew, and he is in New Mexico, and he says he's just finishing setting up his pain cave. Now, he's got quite a lot going on here. He's got home gym right in front here, turbo obviously set up right in front of a TV screen, and a treadmill there too, which is really quite a useful looking pain cave set. I've also got some core stability, foam roller and mats and other pieces of equipment in behind this treadmill. So thanks for sending that in, Matthew. Very similar looking setup actually here from Graham. Now Graham is in Wiltshire and he has sent us a picture of his treadmill, which is straddled by not one but two bikes, and that is his Bianchi Infinito CD and his Trek Speed Concept 7.2. Now they are either side of his treadmill, and he says that he is actually keeping the motivation going during lockdown by combining my passions of Ironman racing and composing for film. So watching some great films on those long indoor trainer rides and GTN, of course. So I like the fact that you got the guitars hanging up there on the wall as well. I've also got some weights in behind, so that's a really useful and workable looking setup you've got there. Thanks for sending that in, Graham. And finally, we've got one here from Armando in San Luis in Mexico, he said. Now he has said he's keeping in shape till we can ride outside again with both of his BH bikes here. He's got a BH G6 Pro, which I do think is his road bike, which is sitting here just in shot. He's also got a BH indoor trainer bike as well, which is a really good looking bit of kit. A treadmill as well, and a weights bench there. You can even see a punch bag as well, so loads of equipment, plus of course his medals in there in the background. So thanks to you all for sending in those, and please keep them coming. We love to see them. Right, it is that time where we have a look at what the pros have been up to over the last week and sharing on their social feeds. Now it's safe to say with there being absolutely zero racing available, they are needing to motivate themselves with their own goals. And I really spotted a running theme this week. Now the first two examples I have are over the marathon distance. Kim Morrison is a name that we're much more familiar with posting blistering bike splits out in the racecourse. However, this weekend she headed out on our local roads to tackle that elusive sub 3 hour marathon, and she hit it with a time of 2 hours 59 minutes and 23 seconds. So fantastic result there for you, Kim. Hope you're extremely happy with that, and as well you did it for an exceptionally brilliant cause, the Great Ormond Street Kids Hostel in London. So hats off to you. Now, sticking with the marathon, if you watch our channel, you should be familiar with the name Dr. Dan Plews as a very well-known exercise physiologist. However, he is also an extremely accomplished athlete in his own right. He holds the record for the age group course in Hawaii with a time, wait for it, 8 hours 24 and 36 seconds in the lava fields, which is absolutely incredible. Well, this weekend Dan tackled an indoor marathon on his treadmill in support of ultramarathoner Zach Bitter, who was in his own right attempting to break the 100-mile indoor record. Well, Dan cruised along for 42 Ks and a fantastic time of 2 hours 45 minutes and 50 seconds, and he seemed quite rightly very pleased with that time. Right then, we're going to finish up with a story about retirement. Jesse Thomas is without doubt one of the most charismatic and fun characters on the triathlon racing circuit, but it's been nearly 2 years since he raced his final triathlon at Challenge Roth in 2018, and he is now officially retiring from the sport and hanging up his race suit. Jesse burst onto the scene in 2011, winning the Wildflower Triathlon in California, doing so in his own words on a borrowed bike, borrowed unbranded triathlon kit, and nobody knew who I was. Well, it's safe to say he's come on a long way since then. He dominated that race through to 2016, winning it 6 consecutive times. He went sub 8 hours at that race in Roth, and he's also one of the few athletes to beat Jan Frodeno over the Ironman distance, doing so in Lanzarote. So an extremely accomplished athlete on the racecourse. Off the course, he also had lots of fun as well, and in his retirement blog, he wrote some favourite memories of his, and one that stuck out for me was coming home from the World 70.3 Champs one year. He wore his race kit home in the plane because one of his sponsors had said, if you do that, we'll pay you your race bonus because we feel a bit sorry for you not winning any prize money. There's not many athletes who would have fun with stuff like that, so he's going to be sorely missed from the circuit, but we wish him all the best moving on.
I'm back with the GTN CAPtion competition, and last week we had this photo of Marcel Zamora of Spain winning Ironman Nice for the 4th time in a row. And again, a few runners up. We've got James Crook, caption 4 shots of tequila please. A little bit of a theme here because we've got Sebastian Schultz ordering a round of pints in a crowded pub. I mean, just picturing a crowded pub right now, it's hard to imagine, isn't it? SR says, you're a bit heavy. How many kilos did you gain during lockdown? We can relate to that one. Luckily no scales in my house. And then Gungan works, an uplifting photo in the middle of these dark times. I like that one, but my favorite this week goes to Mavales 28. I've had the time of my life and I owe it all to you. Now, I'm sorry guys if you don't get that, but that is a very famous quote from Dirty Dancing where Baby gets lifted up at the end. Yeah, go and watch it if you don't know what I'm on about. But congratulations, Mavales. Do get in touch and we'll send a GTN cap out to you. And for your chance to win a GTN cap this week, we have this photo from the 2009 ITU World Champs in the Gold Coast. And it's Chloe Turner spraying herself with water. I think by now you guys know what to do, so please do share your caption suggestions in the comments section below. And I warned you, it was going to be a packed show. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, but there's still plenty more coming up on the channel this week for you to look forward to, including a video looking at the coolest age grouper triathlon bikes. And if you enjoy watching Mark suffer, then you're in for a treat because he is entering a Z Pro triathlon race. And if, like Mark, you're doing a lot of indoor training, then do check out our GTN shop for our latest indoor training bundles. And hopefully you've enjoyed seeing Mark, Fraser and myself back together again. Give us a like if you have, and remember to subscribe to the channel. And for a couple of videos that you might want to have a watch of now, if you want a bit of a giggle and something light-hearted, then we've got this one on You Know You're a Runner When, and that's just here. But for something more serious and training related, we've got the toughest sessions from the pros just here.